Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys we are going to be doing a deck update of my Blue Eyes White Dragon deck. So before I get into today's deck profile, there is a couple of things I want to go over. There's a lot of different ways that you can play Blue Eyes White Dragon decks nowadays. Everything from the Fusion, the Chaos Max build, Link Karibo builds, which I've tried out and I like them, but I'm not too fond of it. There's a bunch of different ways you can play Blue Eyes, and you can play it however you want to. This particular version of Blue Eyes is a 43 card deck. The reason for it being 43 is because I run Pod Desires in the deck as a one of. Now, before everybody starts hating on me for running Desires in a deck, the deck has consistency, draw power, out the wazoo. It's very consistent, and I've had no problem with it being at 43. So I can get to all my combo pieces as quickly as I need to be. So I am perfectly fine with the deck being as is right now. So without further ado, we will get into the deck profile, guys. So first off, we run our 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon. Like I've told you guys all the time, I've had these Blue Eyes White Dragons since I first got into the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! These were some of the first cards I ever picked up. Actually, the first cards I picked up, because I picked up the first 3 Seto Kaiba starter decks that came out at Toys R Us years and years and years ago. But yeah, so my 3 Blue Eyes, I love the original artwork. Next we have 3 Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon. Alternative can do so many different things for you. Pop a card, normal summon a tuner, go for a Spirit Dragon play. That's mainly what you do with him, so definitely a staple as a 3 of. Next we have 2 Dragon Spirit of White. Some people run this as a 3 of, I've seen recently. I'm not too keen on this card being a 3 of in any version of Blue Eyes, but it's a very good card overall. The fact that I can banish cards that I don't want to destroy with like Twin Twisters or whatever, you know, if they have a diagram or whatnot, I can banish it. There was something like a Cosmo Town, because sometimes once in a while you face against the Cosmo matchup randomly at locals. So 2 Spirit. I've been finding myself using his effect though, the Tribute him off to bring out Blue Eyes White Dragon a lot more recently. I don't know why, if that's just a thing, but it's been happening more often. Next we run 3 White Stone of Ancients and 1 the White Stone of Legend. Ancients is pretty straightforward. You get to, when it goes to the graveyard at the end phase, you get to special summon out your Blue Eyes or your Spirit Dragon. But I would like to take a moment to talk about the fact that I don't know if it's just the game is getting faster or whatever the case may be, but I've been going into Ancient's second effect more than his first effect. And what I mean by that is I'll send my Ancients to the graveyard, then I'll banish it to add the Blue Eyes I have engraved back to my hand for trade-in, for melody, whatever the case may be. I've just been finding myself doing that more often. Sometimes you'll be adding back alternative off of it, which is a thing that does happen from time to time. So I don't know if it's just the way the game's being played at the moment or what the case is, but I've been using that effect more often. But most of the time, still, I do like just sending it to grave, in phase, get something out on the field, and then the turn after that, banishing it to add a Blue Eyes back to hand if I need to for a trade-in or whatever. So it's just something I should mention. And then you guys know what the 1 White Stone of Legend is. You run down the deck in case you draw too many alternatives. You can add a Blue Eyes to your hand to get your alternatives off. On top of that, if you guys like the hollow rarities and like hollowing out your Blue Eyes deck like I do, this just got reprinted in the Duels Pack Kaiba set that just got reprinted about a month or so ago. So if you would like a hollow version, they've gone down in price a little bit, so you could probably pick them up. So next up we have our 3 Sage with the Eyes of Blue in the deck. Sage with the Eyes of Blue is integral to your deck. He's your Stratos of the deck. In this deck, we do use his second target from time to time, his second effect that people just forget about. But he has multiple different targets he can search out in this deck. We have the White Stone of Legend like we were talking about, and the White Stone of Ancients. I also run the 1 Maiden with the Eyes of Blue in deck. I know, people hate this card. I love the card. The card is bae. I love this card. She's beautiful. And she does help out in this deck, and I try to use her in an aggressive manner because what you do is you use the Sage, target the Maiden, and you get 2 Blue Eyes out in the field, and then you can do different shenanigans with that. Go for a rank 8 play, beat down, tuner, whatever the case may be. Especially when you draw multiple Sages in your opening hand sometimes. I find myself doing that. but the one Maiden is just versatile in the different things it can do. The one Master with the Eyes of Blue, which works with the Maiden and works with other things. He's a very good card just to have in the deck. And we also have the Effect Veiler, which is searchable, again, through Sage with the Eyes of Blue. So you have more targets than a standard Blue Eyes deck. But yeah, your 3 Sage with the Eyes of Blue. Happy that got reprinted for you guys that want to play Blue Eyes. Next we have your 1 Maiden with the Eyes of Blue. Like I said, you don't have to run it, but sometimes I do run it. And 1 Master with the Eyes of Blue. If you're taking this deck into competitive play, I'll talk about in a second some other cards that I do take out to go into my sideboard, depending upon the situation and what my matchup is if I'm taking it into a tournament. Maiden and Master are some of the first cards I take out, depending upon my matchup usually, so I'm just putting that out there too as well. So we have that. We also have our 1 Effect Veiler and our 1 Max C, like I was talking about. Effect Veiler, nobody runs Effect Veiler anymore. The reason I like it even as a 1-of in the deck is because it's searchable negation. You can search it out in your deck to back your board up, is what I'm trying to say. And Max C, great hand trap. If you have Ghost Ashes, run Ghost Ash. I don't own Ghost Ashes at the moment, so I'm unable to run Ghost Ash, but if you have them, you can definitely run them in the deck, or keep them in your sideboard to run in your main deck. Put them in game 2 and game 3, put them in your main deck is what I meant to say. But Ghost Ash, if you have it, you can run it. But I still like the Effect Veiler over it because it's searchable, unlike Ghost Ash. So definitely Effect Veiler still as a 1-of. 3 Melody of the Awakened Dragon. I have to give a shout out to whoever created this artwork. You are an amazing person. It's Lord of D rocking out on a guitar that is a Blue Eyes White Dragon guitar. That is freaking amazing. Whoever thought of this artwork concept deserves a round of applause, because that artwork is my favorite artwork in Blue Eyes White Dragon. The deck and archetype, whatever you want to call it. I love it. Hopefully one day we get a new Lord of D. That would be awesome. But yes, your 3 Melody, this helps you search out your alternative and helps search out your vanilla Blue Eyes White Dragon. So you can search them out within your deck and also get your eggs and stones in graveyard to get their effects off. So yeah, 3 Melodies, definitely a staple in the deck. Your 3 Trade-In, staple, and your 1 Cards of Consonance, I still prefer that in the deck. You have 4 targets for it, run it, it helps out. So your 3 Trade-In and Cards of Consonance. Next up we have our 3 Return of the Dragon Lord and your 1 Silver's Cry. I've seen people run double Silver's Cry, and I'm not a... I mean, I guess it depends upon your build necessarily, but I've never been a fan of running multiples of this anymore since we have this card. If this card ever got hit for some stupid reason, run more of this card, and I'm hoping this card gets reprinted in the Seto Kaiba Legendary Collection. If you guys haven't heard about that yet, in March of 2018 we're supposed to get a Seto Kaiba Legendary Collection with new Seto Kaiba cards and hopefully some good reprints. And I'm hoping for you guys out there that want to build this deck and play it, that these 2 cards get reprinted in the deck. I know this got reprinted, but it's still $10 to $15, and this is like $15 plus sometimes. So hopefully these 2 cards get reprinted in that Legendary Collection, Seto Kaiba. I'm finally happy they made a Seto Kaiba Legendary Collection. Can I just say that too? But excuse me. Now, thing I'll mention, and I always mention this in any Blue Eyes White Dragon deck profile I do, when you have the opportunity to activate this card, activate the card immediately. It's going to do better for you in graveyard than in hand, if you know what I'm trying to say, because you can banish out of the grave to protect your dragon. Not saying that reborn, waiting to reborn a Blue Eyes is bad, but it's going to do better if you have that Blue Eyes on field and this engrave, or you have some Blue Eyes on field and this engrave. It's going to help out a lot more. So anytime I have this card, I activate it right away. That way I can protect my dragons. So I'm just saying that. Next up we have our Dragon Shrine. I still like running double Dragon Shrine. Some people like running it as a 1-of, and that's perfectly fine. Just depends upon how you like playing the deck. And your 1 Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is something I've been trying out in the deck. I was talking with a buddy of mine about it, and I was bumping off ideas off him, and I decided, you know what, let's try Foolish Burial in the deck just because. So I'm trying it out. Do I like it? Yes. Do I think that double Dragon Shrine and 1 Foolish is overkill? Not really. This is a great engine starter, and it's just a good card overall, and I usually find this card is pretty live. and Foolish is just good throughout the game. So it's up to you how you want to decide to do it, but it's just a tech card that I'm trying out at the moment, and I may cut it at the end of the day, but I still like it. Next we have Double Twin Twister. Depending upon my matchup, this is another card that I'll take out. So like I said, the Maiden and the Masters I'll take out, and the Twin Twisters I'll take out, depending upon the matchup. Or if I'm going against a deck that, you know, they get effects off cards being sent to the graveyard, then I'll side in my Cosmic Cyclones into the deck. And if you guys are wondering where my side deck is, I don't have it on me because I'm using it with another deck at the moment, but I'm just talking about what I've done when I've entered tournaments over the last couple of months. But yeah, Double Twin Twister. I love it because the deck can work with Twin Twister by it gets you want your cards engraved a lot of the time. That way you can reborn them. For your draw engine, you run one Upstart Goblin and one Desires. I know people always ask me, this card's 43 cards, why are you running Upstart Goblin? Well, let me tell you something. Drawing cards in Yu-Gi-Oh!, no matter your deck size, is good, because 1,000 life points, my dragon can just take that 1,000 life points right back. So drawing one card is good. So instead of running double Desires, I like the one Upstart and the one Desires. Pretty simple. And Desires, I like it as a one-up. It'll be live, mid, late, early game, doesn't matter. And I also don't have to worry about drawing double Desires by running this ratio right here. So that's another reason I run it, but I like Desires as a one-up still. One Regeki, one Soul Charge. Sack Charge is amazing in this deck. You get enough dragons engraved through Foolish and your Dragon Shrine, and then you drop the Soul Charge. Oh, that feels so good. And Regeki clears the board and is an amazing card. If you're going, sometimes I like keeping it in the main deck if I'm going first, but sometimes I'll take it out if I'm going, if they decide to go, if I want to get, depending upon if I lost for game one, I'll take that out for maybe other cards. Same thing goes with the Solemn Brigade, but going first, I just like keeping it in the deck. I like my 3 Solemn Strike and my 1 Warning. Now, like I said, if I had Ghost Dash, I may knock this down to double Solemn Strike, double Warning, possibly. But I don't have Ghost Dash. And I play this deck a little bit differently than other Blue Eyes players do it, and it works for me. Is usually what I like to do is have some type of trap set up. So have this set in my back row. Have a Return of the Dragon Lords in my graveyard over here. And then in my first turn sometimes with a Spirit on field. That way I can negate something you do, I have protection in case something should happen, and I have my Azure Eyes, just my my Spirit Dragon to stop whatever shenanigans you're trying to do. So I like that setup, playing the deck a little bit like that. I know some other people like going off with it a lot more, and that's perfectly fine, especially if you're playing Blue Eyes Chaos Max. You play the deck a lot differently. But for this type of build, which is like a more of a Synchro Xyz version of Blue Eyes White Dragon, I prefer doing it that way. If you're playing the Link Karibo version, which has apparently become popular recently, you play the deck a little bit differently, even playing that version of the deck. Like I said, there's multiple ways of playing Blue Eyes White Dragon. But I like the Solemn Strikes and everything. Another thing I should mention, depending upon if I'm going first or second in Game 2, Game 3, these come out of the deck for other anti-meta cards depending upon the matchup. So I'm just letting you know what things I usually side out for Game 2 and 3. So there's a lot of you can side out in this deck for Game 2 and 3 and put in hate for whatever deck you're facing. Next we have our 2 Seto Kaiba tokens. I hope one day to get one of these signed. That's like the one thing I've wanted for my collection for the longest time is a signed Seto Kaiba token. So, yeah, our 2 Seto Kaiba tokens. Then we have our 2 Spirit Dragons you run in the deck still. Double Azure Eyes. I know a lot of people don't like double Azure Eyes, but I always find myself saying, I wish I had a second Azure Eyes, so I'm running 2 because I have the room. Other targets you have besides Azure Eyes is your Michael, the Arch Light Swarm, and Black Rose Moonlight Dragon over here. And then you also have your Crystal Wing. Now, people always ask me, how do you go into Crystal Wing, Seto? You make your Spirit Dragon, alright? You pass your turn, it goes to your opponent, they bring it back to you. You didn't use Spirit's Effect. You go use Spirit's Effect to bring out one of these. You normal summon a level 1 tuner, and then you go for this, your Crystal Wing. That's how that works. Now, for your rank 8 package, we do run the Galaxy Eyes package up here. The Cypher, the Photon Dragon Full Armor to pop a card, and your Dark Matter Dragon. For some other level 8s I run these two, Sky Prison, number 68 Sky Prison, and number 38 Hope Harbinger, which is a staple in this deck until Kingdom Come. We also run one Alce, the Sylvan High Protector, and I also run the Fusion as well. I run the Fusion just in case certain scenarios. Against rogue matchups, this card's really good, so I just run it just in case. Something I'm trying out in the deck is Decode Talker. Another thing I'm trying out is Link Karibo as well. That is something I'm trying out. Yeah, I'm still needing more time playing around with it. But yeah, that is the extra deck. I can't wait, though. I know it's going to be a while before it comes out, like at the end of the Vrains era. But Konami's already said we're going to eventually get a Link 2 Light Monster, which I cannot wait to have because it will have 2 markers pointing down, and it'll just require 2 Light Monsters, which is super easy to do in this deck. And when that day happens, I will be very, very happy because this deck will be so much more better. But yeah, so that is the deck, guys. I hope you guys all enjoyed this deck profile. I love playing this deck. It's such a fun deck to play. Like I said, I've been playing Blue Eyes for a very long time. I remember the days back when before we even had the Bloody Structure deck, and the only thing I had to work with was like, what was it, like Paladin, and Future Fusion was around at that time with, you know, Chaos Dragons. That was the only way you could play Blue Eyes. And then we got Maiden, and then you go Wonder Wand, pop Maiden, get a Blue Eyes on field, draw 2 cards. I remember those days, but I've been playing this deck for a long time. And like I said, there's so many different ways you can play Blue Eyes going into 2018. So have fun at it. This is just my standard version of Blue Eyes. There's different variations you can do. Also, on top of that, I will be profiling later this week a Chaos Max version of Blue Eyes. But if you guys all enjoyed this deck profile, please give the video a thumbs up, and leave it. If you enjoyed my videos, please subscribe to the channel for more awesome videos. And until next time, guys, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, everybody.